This is a two-part question about the sale of Dornier and Blackwater. So you're selling for around about $4 billion. I was wondering if the coal was left in the ground and the Alliance took on the costs of shutting the whole mine down, what would the positive and negative impacts be? So negative presumably to the bottom line and to our dividends, what, 5%, 50%, order of magnitude hit? And impact of positive impacts? Would such an action make BHP more attractive, more valuable to ESG investors? And would the access to that investment in the future perhaps offset or compensate for losses today? And the last part of the question is partially being addressed. You've already said that BHP considers Whitehaven to be a reputable, I think it was, or responsible operator. Okay. But will BHP implement the policy to advocate for Paris Agreement by trying to please influence Whitehaven to improve their sustainability and emission reduction goals? Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Young. I think there's a number of elements in there. I think the first is the sort of financial implications of this, and the second is our alignment and advocacy around the Paris Agreement. So let me take each of those in turn. First of all, we are positioning ourselves for the future by positioning ourselves in future-facing commodities. We've had an exit out of energy coal, and we are winding down our Mount Arthur energy coal asset, which is our last one, which we'll responsibly and work through a just transition between now and 2030. We are positioning ourselves in the higher value-add metallurgical coal that have a lower emissions profile per ton of steel produced. So we are positioning the company for the future. Now, what comes out of that in terms of ESG funds, it's up to them to decide, but we are positioning ourselves for the future for the benefit of our shareholders. I think it's a hypothetical around the shutdown costs of those two assets. Those are two quality businesses, and the world needs metallurgical coal because the world needs steel in order to decarbonize. There is not enough recycled steel in the world to meet the demands for steel for ongoing urbanization, population growth, and decarbonization infrastructure. So it's sort of a bit of a moot point. The world needs metallurgical coal going forward. We're working hard with our steel customers to try and decarbonize that steel supply chain. As I mentioned earlier, optimization of raw materials, carbon capture and storage, innovative new technology trying to displace metallurgical coal and reduce the emissions, but those are decades away. They are decades away. Now, in terms of advocacy, we are an advocate we are, all of our, and thank you for your compliments around them, all of our objectives around climate. We published 2 years ago a climate transition action plan. We actually took that to shareholders, and shareholders gave support for that at 85%. It has a number of initiatives in there around Scope 1 and 2 goals and targets, Scope 3 goals and targets, just transition, how we remunerate management in order to drive those objectives going forward. So a whole suite of policies and goals and targets around our climate agenda, including alignment to Paris and advocacy around Paris. So thank you.